Thank you everyone for coming and warm welcome at Cognizant here in Amsterdam. Maybe it's nice to mention that earlier this was the chewing gum factory, so I don't know if you recognize that, but very nice to know. Yeah, we have two speakers tonight. Of course, Marley Ritter, she will start and she's a designer and web accessibility evangelist.
Yeah.
And she will share a view on design and accessibility. And our second speaker is William Terra. He's senior product designer.
He's hiding behind the beard.
And he will give his view on mindful and ethical design approach. Maybe it's good also to share a little bit of the program. So we will start now. It will take about half an hour, and then we have a 10-minute break, and then we move to the immersive room. It's behind the curtains, and then we have the second presentation of William, and after that we will have some nice drinks, and at 9 we will close and thank everyone for joining and for speakers. So have a nice evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining. So I just want to give you a little bit of an introduction to me. My name is Marley Ritter. I'm originally from South Africa. I moved to the Netherlands 2 years ago. I miss beaches and I miss Table Mountain. I have been a designer, I've been a product owner, I've been a front-end developer. I really sucked at development, so moved back to design, but that really gave me just some insight and understanding into what goes into a product from all the different perspectives. And then I'm quite passionate about community and education. A couple of years ago, about 9 years ago, I realized there's something like accessibility. I never actually even knew that it existed. And I was chatting to a front-end developer that I worked with, and a whole world opened up. I'm like, why do people not talk about this? How do we not know? It's just not spoken about. And then I started Googling, and I realized it's really overwhelming because there's all these websites and these rules, and I just looked at it, I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. And then I realized, no, but somebody needs to try and simplify all this. And this is where I kind of started. I won't call myself an expert, I don't like that word, there's always more to learn, but taking all the guidelines and exposure to companies. I worked a little bit with the Cape Town Accessibility of the Blind. I just went to them and said, I'd want to learn, like I don't know where to start, and they've been really, really helpful by allowing me in and showing me how it works, and from there it just kind of snowballed into this. So I would love to share the little bit that I can share today, and maybe like just to get a feel, like who is super new to accessibility? Oh wow, now I'm feeling very intimidated. Who are experts? Okay, that's okay. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go and leave. Maybe just who's designers? Okay, developers. Good. Thanks for the developers for joining as well. So I think with accessibility as well, it seems like it's always just the development side that needs to fix it, and that's not really true. Like designers also play a role. So that's a little bit about me. And then what are we going to talk about? So firstly, it's going to be a real high-level exploration of inclusive design, accessibility. What does the landscape look like? We're going to look at some examples. So I'm going to play some videos. I'm going to show some real-life examples from websites. And I would love you to join the conversation. Like, it's really boring if it's just like me standing here and showing you a bunch of slides. Well, they're quite interesting, I think, I hope. But if you have some examples or projects that you worked on, like, please just say, I want to add to that, because we can all learn from that. It's a community thing, right? We all learn from each other. It's not one person telling you what to do or how to do that. So let's have a quick look. So what does the world currently look like through an inclusive lens? So we have 1.3 billion people that live with a form of disability. We have 6 billion people who don't speak English at all. Like, at all. I think we kind of miss this quite a lot with when we design something. We have 1 billion people who identify on the LGBTQIA+ spectrum. We have 6.2 billion people that are Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We have 1 billion people who are over the age of 64 years old. So it's very clear that people are not a single characteristic. Like, they're not just a demographic and we put them into one of these boxes. They are a combination of a whole bunch of things. People are complex, and we need to acknowledge that there's very different dimensions to that. So how does inclusive design and accessibility fit into the bigger picture? Because we're using the terms interchangeably, and that's actually not correct. They are two different things. So inclusive design is a methodology. It's a process. And it looks at a full range of human diversity. So there's a lot of different dimensions to that. And there's no official regulation in the digital space to that. Where accessibility is an outcome. It's an experience. It's not a feature. You're not building features. It's usability. It focuses on people with disabilities, and is regulated by established laws and policies across the globe. So you can see they work together, and they're not the same thing. So what makes a design inclusive? So inclusive design is a process, but who facilitates this process? We do. So we are the people that facilitate it. We're the teams, not the designer, not the developer, not the product owner. It's an entire team that works together that needs to look at inclusive design. It's not something that you do at the end to make your design or product accessible. So when we work together, we have to have unbiased decision making. And it seems pretty obvious as UX designers, yeah man, we are not biased. We definitely are biased. There's no human being that's not biased. We have a specific background, we have a specific upbringing. You can think that you're outside of that, but you're not really. And we're going to look later in the presentation, like how can we really address that and become a little bit more unbiased. So let's look at some examples. What does inclusive design look like in practice? So this is the various business tags that Google has added on their business profiles. So you can Google for Black-owned business store, and you can add a tag there. And these are the different tags that they have. So that is really nice to support all the different types of businesses and allow exposure and visibility. Then we have Pinterest. So if you want to do a makeup look, you have a skin tone filter. That is really cool because there's nothing worse than trying to filter through results that's not even in your interest. And this one is really cool. I can't remember where did I get this from. I wish I have the name.
LinkedIn?
Don't know if it's LinkedIn.
No, yeah.
But that is really, really great. So it's a recruitment intake form, and it's asking you to record the name, the pronunciation of your name. I think that is brilliant. Because some people make easy names, or they have like English names instead of their real birth names. I don't think that's right. Like, we should address people in the name that they are born with or what they choose to be addressed at. And then we have the add personal pronouns. So I thought this is really nice to be able to record how your name is pronounced. And then this. Can we please stop doing that? This is mostly out of habit. We have onboarding flows. We have, so what's your gender? Male, female, other. Why are we asking it? So I think this is really its habit. We've been doing it for many, many years, so we just continue doing it. But what do we want to do with that information? Like, what is the value? If it's not actually in healthcare where there's some medical, then we don't need to know that because we can't actually profile people based on this. So I'm interested in architecture. I don't care about makeup. So now if I say I'm female, you're going to show me shopping, clothes, makeup. None of that interests me. If you're a guy, you must be into cars, you must be butch, you must, like, we're fully stereotyping based on this. So I think it's time that we start asking questions to business. Why are we asking this? What are we going to do with the information? Is it actually going to benefit the business? If not, take that away. Inclusive language. So this is mother, father, maybe rather say parents or guardians, husband, wife, partner, spouse, family history, maybe blood relative history. Hi guys, I am a culprit to this. Hi guys, you guys. Like, it's just the way to speak, but I'm also trying to learn to be a little bit more cognizant around hi team, because I'm working with my team. So I can say hi team, morning team, I don't have to say hi guys. So it's just kind of thinking like, how do you actually speak on the day to day? Then the last two, I think has come out the last couple of years with guru and tribe. Like, these words are very specific words used in cultures, and it's a sacred term for these cultures. For us to randomly throw it around in business is actually quite disrespectful. We can use expert, thought leader. I mean, these words are actually perfect for what we want to use it. We don't need to use the word guru or tribe. And then we have community. There are many more, but obviously this is a huge topic and I'm trying to go through everything. Yes?
Yes. This is very hot on social media right now.
Oh yeah?
So in America, they're starting to refer to women as breastfeeders and womb birthers. And
okay.
I'm a mother. I carried that thing. I birthed that thing. I'm a mother. There's no man that's going to do what I did. I like the word mother. I feel like when I become a breastfeeder, that pain and it offends me.
Yeah.
So why must I consider another person's,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
me?
controversy around some of the topics, and I
Yeah.
think we can sit and we can debate it out for
Yeah.
hours. But yeah, like the basic things, let's try and just keep it.
Yeah. How do you go about defining or rationalizing so that you don't take it too far?
Yeah, I mean that's a tricky question, right? It's like I think it depends on context, depends on business. If your business has no place to go in that, then rather avoid it. I think it's the best just to step back and not go into a space that is going to create controversy for your company.
Yeah.
Then this is not a digital example, but this is really cool. So this is retail inclusivity. So a lot of the shopping malls or shopping centers are introducing a quiet hour for people that has sensory needs. So this is really nice if you're autistic and you really get triggered by a lot of things around you. You can actually go into and do shopping without being triggered. So this is a really nice example.
Handing over my card makes me feel very anxious and nervous.
Just a total invalidation of my identity. I tried not to focus on that because it happens so often.
I used to have moments of anxiety and moments of panic.
It puts me in a place where I feel like I'm in danger. It just sucks every single time.
And you look at it, and you look at you, and you look at it, and you look at you.
Oh, is this actually you?
Are you serious?
So this is a marketing campaign from MasterCard where they introduced True Name on the card. Yes, this is like a marketing thing, and there's a lot of questions around how this will work. But I think we can learn from thinking a little bit out of the box, because this is the examples, why I'm showing these examples, is to inspire you to go back and say, okay, how can we think out of the constraints of what we are designing in? So that was inclusive design. What is accessibility? So accessibility is the ease of use for all people, and it's divided into 4 main categories, which is vision, motor, auditory, and cognitive. And each of these also have different categories around it. So we tend to think about disability as a permanent thing, but you do get permanent, temporary, and situational. So the example for vision is you are born blind, so that is a permanent disability. Then you might have a cataract and you have to get eye surgery. So that is a temporary situation, but you still need assistance to access websites during that time. And then situational is a distracted driver. Well, that's not a good one. You shouldn't be distracted if you're driving, but you're in public transport and you want to book a ticket or you want to check something. So you're on your phone, there's glare from the lights. So that's a situational disability. Then you have motor. So permanent is you have only one arm. Then temporary is you have an arm injury, so you broke your arm and now you have to do everything with one hand. And situational is if you're a new parent. So each of these disabilities, there's different context to it. And I think we have to think that it's not a binary, it's not a black and white. It's actually a spectrum. And when we design for accessibility inclusive design, we are helping everybody. We're not just helping a set percentage of people. So assistive technology is another term that represents like technology that people use to access websites, mobile apps. But assistive technology is also glasses, right? Like that's also something that assists you to do something. So it's a broader thing. So we're just looking at the digital ones now, but you have screen readers. I think most people know about screen readers, but then you also have text readers, you have screen magnification, physical keyboards, so you have different types of keyboards. You have digital keyboards on the screen, so there's a digital keyboard and people actually access the keyboard via their eyes. So where they look, they can use the keyboard. And then you have switch access, so you have different switches, buttons, and that works with the binary on, off, 1, 0. And I'm going to show you like a couple of videos now to show you how the assistive technology works. So this is a screen reader.
Hi, I'm Cece, and I'm 47 years old, and I've been blind since birth. I've been using technology for many, many years now for almost any aspect of my life. Once you're heavily dependent on technology, an inaccessible website with poor interaction with a screen reader can make things much more difficult. When you know those colorful ads on the internet with beautiful women walking down the beach and it says 50% off, I'm sure you've seen those. Well, I haven't. And that is because these pictures, these ads are usually unlabeled. So there's no alternate text to describe the ad. And there's no text to describe the scene and to tell me about this. And so my screen reader would just say graphic, graphic, graphic. It wouldn't read me the text, and I wouldn't know about this offer. And then I wouldn't be able to buy those beautiful bikinis. You know, it's really funny how sometimes merchants don't seem to be so interested in my money. But once you go on a website that is accessible and really works with a screen reader, that makes a great difference. Every time I go on a website and I hear the accessibility notification that this site is adjusted to a screen reader, I can smile, I can relax, and I'm sure that on this website I can read whatever I want and I can buy whatever I want.
I love this woman. She just wants to buy the bikinis. Who has worked with a screen reader or actually played around with it?
I use it as a podcast. Like, instead of when I want to read an article but I don't have time to read it, I listen to it.
Yeah, I mean I also do that. Like just read the stuff to me. Everybody else? You?
Yeah.
And this makes sense. How does a screen reader work? And that if there's no alt text, it just says graphic, graphic, graphic. So you don't know what graphic it is. So it's really just walking into a room and just hear random terms, and it means nothing. The next one is zoom text. So this is for people with low vision that needs to have higher contrast or bigger text to see on the screen.
Students demonstrate zoom text.
This is how I use zoom text to access my subject material. Firstly, when I use zoom text, I would usually invert the colors using specific keyboard commands and also magnify the screen using similar keyboard commands. The next main function which I use when using zoom text is the reader function. I'll demonstrate this in the assessment overview page. To get zoom text to read a passage back to me, firstly I highlight it and press caps lock S.
This page gives a brief summary of the assessments you will be required to complete as part of this subject. For a full description of assessment tasks and assessment criteria, please refer to the subject outline.
Some subject material can be quite lengthy and listening at that pace can take quite a lot of time, so I usually prefer to listen a bit faster, just so I can get through the material a bit quicker. And this is a demonstration of the speed which I usually listen to it at.
This page gives a brief summary of assessments you will be required to complete as part of this subject. For a full description of assessment tasks and assessment criteria,
They
please refer
love
to the
showing
subject
off
outline.
like that. Well, you can't hear it, but
And those
I
are the three
can.
main functions which I use while using zoom text to access subject material.
If you're a UTS academic, the LX lab.
An important thing about the zoom text is when they use the zoom text software and they're zooming in a specific link, and you click on the link and there's a modal, and the modal is outside of the screen, then they wouldn't even know that something has happened. So that's why it's always important that when you have an action, that it happens close to where you're clicking. So that's just a basic usability rule.
Hello, my name is Tyler Shrink, and I am a quadriplegic. I want to share with you how I use my Sip and Puff drive system on my wheelchair to control my phone. Off-the-shelf hands-free technology is helpful but has its limitations. With this software, you can navigate your phone in the web, you can use your keypad while you're on a phone call, send and receive text messages, as well as check old voicemails and messages. I use the Sip and Puff to navigate through my phone, but the software can be customized to different wheelchair drive systems and personal preferences. This software allows me to control the blue border you see on the screen, to navigate between rows and columns, and to open the application I want. Once I'm at the app and I want to go back to the home screen, I can select.
So the objective is the same, but the way our end users achieve this objective is often different. So we have to keep that in mind. Something to just mention about the assistive technology is one of the big key requirements is that it needs to be keyboard accessible. Because when it's keyboard accessible, all these other assistive technologies can use that. Not everybody can use a mouse, but keyboard accessible does work with most of the assistive technology. So how does accessibility compliance work? So this is where things get a little bit overwhelming when you go onto the website and try and figure out what are all these rules. So you have the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or the WCAG, or however you want to say that abbreviation. And there's different versions, so I think that's also where the confusion comes in, because you see a bunch of numbers and you don't know what is this 2.0, 2.1. So this is just a simple way to explain that you have the WCAG 2.0, which is the foundation, And every time when they do a release, there's an extension to that. So it doesn't change. You don't have a set of guidelines, and now when they publish, there's a new set of guidelines. It's just the extension, and they add on, and they kind of define the guidelines a little bit more. So we have WCAG 2.2 draft. You can see it online. You can see what it looks like. And then we have 3.1 that is incomplete, and it still needs to be confirmed. And this is also an open source. You can go look, you can add to that, you can be part of this project. It's not a closed project. So within the WCAG, we have compliance levels. So you have A, AA, AAA. Single A is a must-have. That is a basic. That's non-negotiable. You have to have that. AA is a should-have. That is the go-to. I want to throw this away and say don't even, it's this or that. And then the AAA is good to have. So that's the most accessible. That is like if you really want to have a gold star for accessibility, you go for that one. And then within this compliance and guidelines, this is the structure. So you have the guidelines, the WCAG, and then you have the 4 principles in these guidelines. So it's perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And within each of these 4 principles, you have a couple of guidelines, and then they also break those guidelines down in more detail. And then you'll see the compliance on the side, single A, double A, triple A. And for instance, under text alternatives, there might be 10 mini guidelines under that one. And then if you want to be compliant for single A, you do 2 of those 10. If you want to be 3, you do all of them. So that's kind of how it works. And then this is the current status. This is actually shocking. So WebAIM is a website. So just so that you know, we'll be sharing this afterwards, that you can take your own time to go through all this and explore it a bit. WebAIM is an amazing website. They do a lot of work. They give a lot of resources. And their latest stats is 96.8% of home pages have failures. So that's quite shocking. That is actually like, I mean, the graph is just one line. It's always like, should I put it in? Should I not? And then the most common failures on home pages. So biggest one is low contrast. We love grey on grey, don't we? Like a dark grey on a light grey, because it just looks so cool. Well, it's not really very good for contrast. Then we have missing alternative text. That's shocking because you can just have an image and you just say what it is. It's really not like a complicated thing. Empty links, shouldn't have empty links. Like you have the hash and then nothing happens, and then the screen reader will be announcing a link and then you don't know, like, why is it not working? Missing form labels, empty buttons, and missing document language. So this is, it's really insightful to see where we can start focusing, and just, if we do one little thing every day, that works. Yes?
I will add on anti-links also, on how we use the label link, because when we design something, we just we have to be more specific on what is going to be linked there. So the readers can describe what you are going to.
Yes, so we're getting to that. Like, how do we describe what the links are? Because it's just like links or empty links. Like, what does that even mean? So what does effective accessibility look like in practice? So let's look at some examples. There's this awesome Be My Eyes is an app. It's a US-based app. So you can have volunteers where somebody that is blind can call in if they want to get dressed. They don't know where's the red jacket. They don't know what's happening in their fridge. And they call you on the app, you assist them. But with the new AI technology, this has been released. It's in testing now, so this is pretty amazing.
Artificial intelligence is set to take a mobile phone app that helps blind and partially sighted people to the next level. It'll speed up the way the app helps in many of the everyday decision-making processes, which sighted people take for granted.
At the age of 17, Lucy Edwards lost her sight altogether. Now a bit of tech is helping her picture
Voice memos.
what she can't see.
Open be my eyes.
Take picture.
Lucy is one of the first in the world to trial an artificial intelligence-powered app
What's in the fridge?
to not only describe the world around her,
Just eggs, milk, cheese.
but to contextualise it too.
What can I make with these ingredients?
Virtual volunteer. There are many dishes you could make with those ingredients, such as an omelette, scrambled eggs, or grilled cheese.
That's so cool.
The app uses ChatGPT, an AI-powered tool which this week was updated to be able to interpret pictures as well as words.
Based on the picture, it seems like the milk expires on the 21st of December, 2023.
It's really good just to make sure I know that I'm not going to kill myself or anyone else around us by eating multi-food.
Does it always get it right?
Yeah, I would say 95% of the time. What are the models wearing in the photo?
The models are wearing various outfits from the Chanel Spring/Summer 2003 ready-to-wear collection.
This app makes me cry. I took a photo of a tube map and it told me where to go. I have not been confident on the tube for 10 years and it's doing that, so I can't wait for what else it can do.
The app's been going for 8 years, but previously relied on human volunteers to advise.
As a blind person, it gives me the autonomy not to have to ask for human sighted assistance anymore, and that is massive. Now my phone and me can be independent without anyone else, and that means more to me than anything.
It's not perfect. For example, it can't tell closely related dog breeds apart, and it will often still offer the option to connect with a real-life human. But its developers say it's learning every day and will soon be released for free worldwide.
Imagine that 253 million people in a very short amount of time have better access to the world through this technology. I think that's the promise.
The dress has a mixture of paisley and floral patterns in various sizes.
A blueprint for progress where we can all see the benefits.
We did get it right.
Yeah. Martin Stew, News at 10.
So yeah, this is an amazing example of how we can think a little bit out of the box to just reach more people. And if you, like, this is now for women that's blind, but think of older people, like if they just need help. And that's the stats in the beginning that I showed. It's like the person is not just one thing, they're different things. And when we do something inclusive, we actually build something for more people. So this is also a pretty cool one. DHL UK and Hello Done, they have created this accessible delivery where somebody can say, wait a little bit more, so just wait a minute, extra minute, so that's something that they call as a product. So, you know, it takes me time to get to the door, or where can they leave the package accessible. So that all happens through WhatsApp or social media, because a lot of the assistive technology works through social media. So that is an easy channel for them to communicate with people through on their phone. Working with customer service as well, there's quite a challenge around, say for instance, if somebody's deaf and they want to call customer service, like how are they going to call? Why are you telling them to call? Like how else? And then you put a chat box in front of them and then they can't get through because we don't want people calling and want to take them to FAQs, and then it just becomes this mess and this person can't actually contact. So that's something to also keep in mind when you build something for customer channels, like how can you make it better or easier? Here is a couple of examples around accessible forms. So from a design perspective, this is just a form with an email address, password for creating an account. You put your email in, you put your password in, and we love using color to show you're making the wrong thing or making the right thing. Oh, green, that's good. Red, that's not good. For people that has red-green confusion, that's just one color. So there's no difference between the two. So where possible, always put copy with the visuals. So say a weak password. So even if there is a little bar, it doesn't really matter. If they can't see the color, they can see it's a weak password. Another example is we have the validation message at the bottom, and it's in the color red, and we put the border around as red. But if you can't really see it, it just looks like the same text, right? So if you did not see that change when you clicked, you won't know. But if you have a little visual with it, with a little exclamation, then you know, okay, there's something happening there. So where possible, always try and put a visual with the copy. So they work together, not one or not the other. Data and information visualization, well, this is a tricky one. So this can get really big. It depends on how complex you want to show. But I think the main takeaway is red and green is a no-go. Stay away from those colors. As you can see in these maps where you have the red and the green, they just look the same. Oh, I don't have it here. I thought I had it. Then this one is shading. So this is quite a clever way to shade something. So instead of making the low darker, which stands out more, you make it lighter. So when you look at that, you can immediately see where is the high resolution, because that's a darker color. And then stay away from hue-based gradients. That's where colors really get complicated. But if you just have like one color and you have a lightness-based gradient, it's easier to see what is happening. But again, this is a minute I'm showing you some examples. This is a very, very deep and complex topic, depending on what type of data visualization you want to build. And then accessible language, that's where we get to when we write copy. So this is also, it's a very deep topic, but these are the most common mistakes. Avoid using verbs like click. That means we're making an assumption how the person is navigating. So they're clicking, they're not clicking. Like, how do you know that they're clicking? Click here and read more. We should stop doing that. It's way too vague. What are you clicking on? And I'm going to show in the next slide, what does it actually look like if you have those call to actions in your copy? It actually makes no sense. People don't know where to navigate. Avoid directional terms. Click on the button below. Look at this on the right. Like that's contextual, right? It doesn't, not even for accessibility, but for responsive design. Like things change. You don't know how people are going to view it. So stay away from any directional terms. And then figures of speech, idioms, metaphors, use plain language. So we've already seen that most people don't even speak English, and most people have English as a second language. So, and each culture has their own like metaphors and ways that they refer to something. So if you're funky, creative, 404 page will just lose people and make them more confused, because I think we went through this phase where everybody's trying to be so creative with it, but they kind of just lose people at the end of the day. So this is what links look like and how you have to be descriptive with links.
Demonstration, links with NVDA.
Descriptive links are important for students who use assistive technology because some students who are blind or have low vision might be using a screen reader program like NVDA to read out what's on the screen. One of the ways students using NVDA can navigate the page with keyboard shortcuts is via links.
Subject outline left bracket PDF, 60 kb right bracket link. Plagiarism and academic integrity explained links to an external site. Link, open avoiding plagiarism helps activity in a new tab links to an external site. Library referencing guides links to an external site. UX assessment principles links to an external site.
If the link text does not make sense out of context, then it will be difficult for those students to know what link to select or where they will end up.
Clickable click here link. Click here links to an external site. Click here links to an external site. Click here links to an external site. Click here links to an external site.
If you're a UTS
So that's very
academic,
descriptive,
the LX
right?
lab
So where do you start? Like we looked at a whole bunch of examples and like what's the difference, but how do we actually start? It's so hard to say, well, now we're going to make everything accessible. It's quite a challenging task. So I would say the first thing is like personal reflection. What are my lenses? Like actually go sit down and don't say I'm not biased. Go sit and journal. I know we don't do that. I'm a very big journaler. I want to tell everybody just to journal, but I know it's not everybody's thing. But just to sit and really reflect on, like, where do you come from? How were you brought up? What were the people around you? And how did that affect you in life? And think about some of the designs. Like, are you actually confirming your assumptions when you're designing something, or are you challenging them? Like, I think always go and challenge. Is this really what we should be building? And challenging people in your team. Then a very, very big thing that we're not doing is inclusive research. Yes, we do research, but we don't do inclusive research. So data is only as good as those collecting it. So if you're only going to take this section and you're testing with this section, that's what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything outside of that. So we really need to start including assistive technology in our research. There are companies similar to usertesting.com, and they have people that test with assistive technology. So think about how you can get people closer to your product. Then it's a team effort. So there's a lot of things that you can do. But from a design perspective, maybe start looking at inclusive personas. Like, when we design something, are we looking at diverse use cases? Or are we doing just the comfortable, happy flow use cases? And let's not say they're edge cases. I really don't like that word, because that's the thing. No, this is an edge case. You're not going to do that. Inclusive design is not an edge case. It helps everybody. From a product perspective, investigate inclusive solutions. Like Be My Eyes is an amazing product, but I don't see anybody really using it anywhere because they have a customer channel. They work with very big companies like Google and Microsoft. Then from a development perspective, include accessibility criteria and definition of done. Like, I can't speak a lot about developers, so I'm not going to do with the developers here. There's a lot to do, but when you have this, it will pull through to the QA as well, and it will actually get tested. I know I'm going over, so I'm going to skip these slides, but you will get this deck. So I'm just going to quickly go over. These are some resources. This is the website where you can find the guidelines. There's some training that's not super expensive. The bottom one is free. Please don't pay a ridiculous amount of money for all kinds of trainings. It's not necessary. Then these are playbooks and toolkits. So this one from Airbnb, another lens. This is the reflection, that for what is your personal biases. So this is a really nice one to go. They have a whole bunch of questions, and you can work through them in your morning coffee while you reflect on your designs. Then you have Figma plugins. So there are a lot of plugins, but this one I'm very excited about as well. It's a prototype that is accessible. So it's in beta version, but you can actually test it with a screen reader. So you can actually build designs in Figma, and you can test it. So you don't have to build something in production. This is a browser extension from WebAIM. Not maybe design, but I learned a lot from using this. Just going to random websites, activating this extension. It shows you all the errors on the side, and you can actually see, oh yeah, that makes sense. There's an alternative text there. There's a missing form label. And if you click on these, it actually goes to that WGAG and gives you the guidelines. So it's really nice. You don't have to figure out why this is not working. And then, lastly, is if you can get an empathy lab. So you can set one up in your company. These are agencies that have this. You get some tools where you can mimic some kind of condition. So you have these glasses, it will mimic a low vision, and you can actually test your products with it. So I think that's really important to do that, just to experience what it feels like if you can't actually use your hands and you need to navigate through your website, or if you can't see properly. Do we have time for? This is the last video.
I think
and then
cognizant, will you allow us a little bit extra time?
Of course.
2 minutes. 2.5 minutes.
Hey Siri, set my morning scene.
It's currently clear and 71 degrees. Today's high will be 80 degrees.
Open weather. Swipe left.
I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was.
Describe images.
Flow like a butterfly, sing like a bee. His hands can't hit
A painting.
what his eyes can't see.
A red jacket.
Now you see me, now you don't. Sonny think he will, but I know he won't. Last week I played a rock into the stone. I spillized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
I have wrestled with the alligator. Tussled with the whale.
The name of life
You're right.
goes under in jail.
Tap, take picture. Tap, take picture.
Two doors detected. Text to stage. Door 4 feet away.
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm great. The world judged me pretty like me. The world judged me pretty like me. What are we gonna do? We're gonna dance. What are we gonna do? We're gonna dance. I shook the world. I shook the world. I shook the world. Shook the world. I shook the world. I shook the world. I shook the world. Shook the world. I shook the world.
I shook the world.
I shook the world. Such a feel good video, and that is the end of what I would love to show you. And do you have any questions? Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for the presentation, by the way. It was really great. It's more about so you mentioned the importance of accessibility and everything, and I think it's, you're right, especially the collaboration with designer and developer. But I see another layer on top of it, which is, of course, like, for example, your product owner, like your administration and everything. And it's more about how do you convince your organization and the top layer, like your direct manager, and I'm going to say like your CEO. How do you convince those people to say accessibility is not the cherry on the cake, or is not just like a little bit of something, right? You know what I mean? Because as you said, like, those things are important, they do matter. And I'm more trying to see, like, I want to include that more and more into my daily job. But the thing is, how do you convince your?
That's an excellent question. I am still learning. I mean, I'm still building presentations and converting ROI and all that stuff. So a couple of years ago, I worked at an airline, and I was talking to my manager, and I was super excited, and he was also a friend, and he said to me, I don't actually care. And it broke me. Like, I'm like, how can you say that? He's like, we don't make enough money from blind people booking flights. That was his words. And I went home, and I went and sulked a bit, and I was like, oh, well, what's going to happen now? And then I was like, you know what, I still have a lot to learn on how to position it from a business point of view. But we can still do things as designers and developers without asking permission. We can still check contrast. You don't have to ask your product owner for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking more about like when it comes,
So you're asking specifically something I can't really tell you how to build a business case.
Maybe I'm looking for some advice, or just trying to
Yes.
frame the question. I know it's tricky. I know it's difficult, but no.
Maybe it's also who do you want to be as a brand, as a company?
Yes.
What are your values?
Yeah.
So that's the
And
aspirational one.
yeah, that's really important for your customers and for your business as well.
I think people will ask questions about that, right? Your consumers, right? Your consumers are concerned.
Yeah.
If you think less about that, the business case,
Yeah.
the guy with the jacket is going to say, I'm sorry about this. It's a large number of their consumers. And you saw the first one, the screen reader is not right, she does not buy the bikini. Right? So I know that's not what we want. We want to be aspiring. I think as a brand, your consumers are going to be critical, and I'm very happy you're doing that because that makes the right reason why you should do it. But there's always a money reason. As we said, right? It's not only in people who have disabilities constantly, it could also be temporary. That of course makes the number of people who can't interact with you way bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the last reason is legislation.
Yeah.
WCAG 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, AA, right? It's going to get there. If you're an American company, run and hide if you don't have it, right? But in Europe, it's coming as well, right? We see it coming for 2025. So yes, I would like to hope that everybody would take the aspiring bit, but if not, those are two reasons to really do it.
I also think that what you said earlier about including more inclusive people in user research is a great way to do it, because I think research is always the thing that validates your design decisions. So if your CEO isn't telling you who to conduct user research with, just make it a more inclusive group.
Yeah, that's very clever. And something also to keep in mind is people with disabilities are extremely loyal because life is hard.
Yeah.
So when they get a website that works, they will come back.
Yeah.
They will tell their friends. And also, it's when you have somebody with a disability as a family member, as a friend, you're also going to support that brand. So we can look at a bunch of people and they actually have a whole network which can be your potential customers that you can bring in. So that's something that you can also, there is actually some research that I can share with you if you want to build a business case that looks at these specific numbers.
Wouldn't it be interesting if we sort of filtered that into our educational system? So we have Gestalt principles, we then have accessibility principles, and that is what you have to study, that you must study. I like to check my contrast, and I know I'm bad with accessibility because I don't have the funds to make it as accessible, my platform as accessible as I'd like. But I think for people who are actually designers who are able to make changes, who are have a specialized job where they get paid to do just one function, when they have the principles of accessibility, like they have Gestalt principles in their toolbox, that could be the next step.
Now we still have a long way to go. We're still not there yet. And I think if we can convince business to start bringing that in.
Yeah.
But I just didn't stop asking for permission and just did what I want to do. And obviously in limitations though, I would push and also build really good relationships with the developers that I work with. And if you have a developer that's also passionate about that, you both can work together. Yes.
Well, I want to elaborate on that because I'm not a developer anymore. I was, and I did exactly that. So I worked for a big ISP in the Netherlands, and their main customer portal wasn't really that accessible. And for me, it was it triggered me just the same way that it probably figured out for you, that you saw the amount of people. So then I think that's more up to you then. Just take the power, man. We work in Scrum, so exactly what you say, you have a lot of power and your manager doesn't even know. So we just implemented it in our team.
Yeah.
I sort of convinced indeed with showing stuff like this to the team, and we were like, yeah, let's do it. And well, as long as we reach our other goal, they were totally fine. They didn't even know, but in that sense, we made the website way better.
Yeah, but the risk is that it's not sustainable, right? So what happens when you leave this client, or you leave the company, and that's actually something that I'm also thinking about. I don't have the answer, right? But one of the things is if we build a design system, make sure that your accessibility is hidden inside of it. That even someone who doesn't know about this, when you leave, it will say, when you do a form, don't put the arrow on top of the form, because the reader will have to go all the way back to the top, put it close to the button. And by actually then, in that design system, adding that logic and actually the rationale, then you can actually start getting people slowly on top. So I think it goes one way to just do it, and I completely agree, right? But I think we also need to find ways to actually incorporate it into the DNA bigger than just ourselves, because the just do it helps. But if you have 14 teams that are working in a development train, how are you going to get all of them to keep working that same direction?
Yeah.
So that's.
So I've spoken to this really massive company where I applied for a role as a UX designer. UX designer, that was the title. And in the interview, they were like, "Well, we actually just have components in the design system. We don't design." So I think a question that comes up for me is, I love building design systems because it facilitates me in producing more, quicker, faster, so that I can get shit done, right? However, there are people who use it, who want design systems, who are not as intuitive or empathic as the designer, and they're just using it in strategy, to achieve certain goals. So I think every aspect of our field is really so complex. I wrote an article, Kurt is here today. We had an event in January called Ethics and AI, and I actually wrote about it. And it is ethics, being ethical. It is really complex, especially for us designers. Many of us don't have the ability to design better. We are not enabled. We have to, measure up to the KPIs, and we have to deliver what is required of us. And so, I think, for us to really tackle this, we need to have more conversations like this and really engage and ask ourselves what we can do. Right?
But I think it's baby steps, right? We don't have to change everything right now. We're not going to change the world right now. No. But bringing in one little thing, talking to a team, that's why I call myself an evangelist. I'm not standing here as an expert and saying I know everything. I just want to inspire people, and I want people to go back to their teams and think, how can I? Because it's not me making the change. It's all of us that's going to be making the change where we are.
Yeah.
Like small little things. What's one thing that I can change this month, next month? Then people won't even know after 3 years that they're doing something. Well, I'm just being optimistic, but
or it goes into education as well, right? So what you're doing here, you can do it also within your organization. You have our accessibility team who's constantly driving this out to everyone, just raising the flag, being like, "Hey, everyone, remember!" But I just wanted to make the point to think bigger than just yourself, and think how you can be systemic change.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And design system was an example, but there's many different ones.
I think there's something wrong with the
that's
I hope it's not going to blow up.
Yes? Yeah, I had a personal comment about making sneaky changes, I guess. So it's actually about the first example you gave, which is the forms that ask your gender. And I worked at a virtual healthcare company, so I had to build one of those forms that were asking for the gender, and I felt very uncomfortable with it. So I kept bringing this up, and because it's actually for medical records, it has to be there. Yeah. But I was like, we have to find a way to make this sound at least a bit better, and I spent I don't know, half a sprint with the copywriter and my manager, which I feel like if the other people in the product team knew, it really wouldn't look good because it pushed it back. But I was like, guys, we have to do this. So the solution we came up with, it's not obviously going to change the world, or we didn't be meant to be the wheel, but it was like, what was your gender at birth? So at least like makes it, like you don't have to be identifying it with that now, but we need that information for medical purposes. And it made me, like it's the smallest change, but it made me feel so
I salute
satisfied.
you for taking that and just trying to find a solution. Like that's really amazing. Like that really makes a change.
I hope so.
Yes?
I'd like to add that if used correctly, accessibility can actually be a very powerful marketing tool. So going back, for example, to your original, we don't make enough money from blind people. Let's say the way you can counteract that argument is how exactly did you measure that, or did you measure it at all? Like, are you based on the money you're making from blind people currently? What about the ones you're missing out? Because at the end, accessibility is about engaging with an audience you've probably never even touched before. Or, you know, if you can make the argument of increasing revenue, how about losing money? Because, for example, accessibility, at least partly, is currently required by EU law, and from 2025 it's going to be required for full AA compliance. So what if one of these people who can reach you sues you, and where's all your last revenue then?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe a next talk would be how to make a business case for your manager on accessibility, right?
Well, you know, this is why I started the summer event. So somewhere in summer, we're going to have an awareness week, and it's called Design for Tomorrow, and we're going to cover a crapload of topics: ethics, accessibility, human-centered design, and all of that. So, you know, get the conversation going if you like, if you want to learn more.
And also, please reach out to me. I have a lot of resources and links. Obviously, this is just, I'm already over time, and you know, it's a very big topic, but I can help you if you need something. I can share some resources or brainstorm with you. I'm happy to do that. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Sounds very marketing oriented. It's not.
Thank you. Thanks, Margie, and let's have a 10-minute break.
Right, so hello everyone, welcome to the Immersive Room. Did you guys enjoyed my lead talks, right? Yeah, I think it was great. First I want to say thank you to Randstad UX and Kent for promoting such a great event. Yeah, are you guys all comfortable? Maybe, yeah. Cool, right. So yeah, I want to say thank you to Candice and Randstad UX for promoting such a great event. It's really giving voice for people to speaking about accessibility, design ethics, and all the topics that we heard about today. So it's really, really positive. My name is William. I've been working with D2C brands for the last 12 years, and now I am a senior product designer here at Cognizant. I'm passionate about ethical social design. Sorry, very sensitive screen. Let's try again. There you go. And tonight we'll talk about a little bit of dark patterns. I will explain a little bit about our responsibility in terms of design ethics when it comes to dark patterns in the web, and we'll finish off with a quick game. Cool. In order to talk about dark patterns, I think I need to get you guys a bit on the background. How did I came here? Why I'm talking about dark patterns? So, has anyone here rented a house before? Yeah, I guess most of us. How was it? Was it great? Was it a great experience? Yeah, that's what I thought. So about 6 months ago, I was exactly in the same journey. I was trying to find a house in Amsterdam. And as you might know, that's a nightmare. I came across various different websites during the journey. And tonight I want to talk about one specific. I called it the renting people, but it's not the right name. The renting people was amazing. It had great houses. I could see all the various offers they had, and all of that for €1 for 14 days. So I really enjoyed it, so I signed up. €1 for 14 days, that should be enough. So I could see the houses. If I didn't like, I thought I could just cancel. Well, that's what I thought. A few months later, I've actually managed to find a place, not on the renting people, but through Facebook. Thanks, Facebook. I met my housemates, they're great. So the only problem is that when I was looking for houses, I've spent a lot of time signing up to all those websites. I had 5 subscriptions of renting websites in Amsterdam, and they were all quite expensive. And now was the time that I had to start canceling them one by one. So I had to go back to the renting people and cancel. The thing is, the renting people, which had a really nice design, didn't have the cancellation button anywhere. So I did spend quite a long time looking for it. I couldn't find it. I went to the FAQ, like most people do. They said, go to your account, go to a membership, then click on this unsubscribe button. But unfortunately, I couldn't see anything. And I kept trying. At this point, I was freaking out. There was no unsubscribe, canceling button. I started looking online. How can I cancel the subscription? That's terrible. Well, so what I had to do, I had to message on email and say, hey, I really need to cancel my subscription. I don't need it anymore. I got a house. I'm happy. Please cancel my subscription. And that's what they got back to me with. Thanks for your response. I do understand if you did not notice this. Message to your subscription is already canceled and you won't be charged moving forward. Well, first they blame me for not finding the canceling button, which is okay. But then they at least confirmed that my subscription is going to be canceled. Well, a month later, while I was minding my own business, happy with my new house, definitely not looking for houses anymore. I was so tired of all of that. I got the following notification. You've been charged $39 from renting people. And that was my reaction. And that's definitely a case of dark pattern. This one specifically is called the approach motel. So this dark pattern makes it very easy for a user to enter a certain situation, but it makes it really hard for the same user to come out of it. And that's what happened to me. But before we go ahead with the next steps, I wanna just share with you a few more dark patterns so you can have a better idea of what those cases can be. Friend spam. So friend spam basically is when a company or a social media, for example, they ask you to sign up to their website and they ask your contacts. They ask for a contact list to share marketing message and to share with your friends without asking your permission. Another example is privacy zuckering, which is, of course, related to Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. That's when you sign up to social media, for example, and you're already giving a lot of information. You're giving your name, you're giving your birthday, you're giving literally everything. And they go ahead and share it with another company without your permission. And hidden costs. That one is very common on e-commerce. A lot of the times it appears as an additional item in your basket that you didn't expect it. For example, you go on a store online, you add something to your basket, go to checkout, and they not only have delivery fee, but they also have handling fee, extra fee, and other fees that they by name in any different way, and it's all added to your basket in the end. And you haven't been told about that before. And what are the consequences for us and for users in general, and I guess for companies as well? First is reducing trust. So if you have those type of patterns, users nowadays are much more familiar with all of them online. Users are going to definitely avoid your brand for using this kind of pattern when you're creating websites, pages, emails, or anything related to the digital. And what can we do about it? I would say A/B test your designs. So look for alternatives on your designs. If you're designing a sign-up page, for example, then you have to do two options. One, if it doesn't sound clear enough, if it doesn't sound ethically okay, then test a different option. And also talk about it. Talk about design ethics with your peers, stakeholders, and just giving voice about design ethics and voicing that you find uncomfortable a situation of a design that you're doing. For example, if you're a designer, then just speaking about it might make a difference. But also take everything in terms of dark patterns with a pinch of salt. Sometimes it's just careless user experience. So just, you have to balance it out. And I'm gonna share with you a few of my examples from where I learned about design ethics before. This Run by Designers is a book by Mike Monteiro. The Politics of Design is also a great book. And the EU guidelines, if you guys haven't seen that one yet, the EU have created guidelines for dark patterns on social media. Unfortunately, it doesn't go beyond social media at the moment, but it's already a very relevant reading. And as we've seen with the GDPR guidelines in the past, and now the accessibility laws coming in 2025, design ethics is also something that might have a law very soon. So it's something to keep an eye at. Right, so I would like to do a little quiz with you guys. We could divide the room in two. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Just because you've got so many people and Brisbane doesn't like many people.
That team and this team.
Yeah. I think just so we can control and everyone can move freely. Okay, cool. So we got group A here, group B here. So what's gonna happen is we'll have a scenario on the screen and we'll read together the scenario, and the group that start first is gonna go in and look for a dark pattern that relates to that scenario. It's all gonna make sense in a second. So I need two persons to touch the screen, one from group A and one from group B. So you wanna do that?
Yeah, but we're from the same company.
Right.
Yes.
Also from the same company. We're from the same company.
Doesn't matter.
Right, hands. Yeah, I mean,
Just fun. Game.
It's only to start.
Yeah,
Let's do this too, okay?
Right, you feeling competitive? Okay, right. So first, rock paper scissors. Decide who starts. You guys know how to play rock paper scissors. There you go. Okay, so what we're gonna do? I will show you the sentence. We'll read it together, and then we'll have around 2 minutes for you to choose the response. But maybe talk to your group if they give you any advice on what it could be. So that's the sentence, and these are the possible responses. You have to choose one from this side once you read it. So you're trying to download the free software trial. However, when you click download, you are taken to a new page that asks you to enter your personal information and share the software with your friends on social media. Only then you can use the download link. So just by looking at this,
is this multiple choice or one?
You can only choose one, unfortunately.
I think it's forced actually. I think it's forcing you to have.
You're forced to use that.
They are forcing you to give you.
According to me, it's
Maybe what it was. I think.
I didn't remember it was a thing. What do you think? Forced action?
Sounds very great. I thought you should know. You said it.
Privacy is
Like I agree.
I don't know if it was that.
not forced. You can just create a page. No force.
Could you explain the rules of
That you cannot
help is when you produce
place it. I think it's
when you share your information.
I'm subscribed.
All right, time is up. Yeah, okay. Okay, okay. Force action.
Not in course action.
2, 3.
I think we're going for forced action.
I can go ahead.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it makes sense because I mean you need a lot of them. Yeah, because they're
also like
I have something.
What's the difference between misdirection and obstruction? That's
Yes.
That was explain. No, I think yeah, they already know.
Because one of the questions you sign up to just subscription.
No, very correct.
because the kid is only good. I think you should
Oh my gosh.
And obstruction make interaction more difficult and it's really. So, for example, on the sign up, so it basically you can't sign up. It's grayed out unless you sign to the
Yeah, exactly.
Sign up to a user.
That happens on almost every.
Yeah, but then it still is then. Whatever that's wrong.
You don't have to through the whole process.
No, that's exactly.
But they're okay.
All right, guys, your turn.
Who was the correct answer? Don't fight.
Oh yeah.
But why wasn't it private?
Sure.
Actually, I think this time it's
I
very
think,
I always say you
Make us feel bad for like canceling.
Yes, I think the main difference is that is when you sign up
maybe also.
Oh, it's just a question. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Yeah, should be like later.
Everything on that path.
Oh my god.
You didn't ask for our opinion.
What do you say?
We also talked about the first, but if you
How many chances?
Don't read the
I would
question, they
say
just press cancel. But actually it means that you cancel it.
I would say confirm maybe. Yeah. You know, exactly.
Yeah, but this is like a trick question. Like, you can say you look like they can cancel, so people don't read it and then they just press cancel. They thought they can.
Try it.
All right, they're loading.
all right, closing time, trick question.
No. What is it? This corruption is called for shaming.
Confirm shaming.
I'm doing this democratic.
I don't hear, but I don't see.
You basically tricked yourself. Thank you.
I don't hear it say like.
We got it. The last sentence.
Overlap.
Yeah, you're right. You guys got another chance.
Do we have to leave?
Come out the grade.
No beer for this team.
Their turn again.
Yeah, you had your turn.
No, but that's not like
We have to do
we
it now.
gave the solution to your problem. Now we have our problem.
If you give me the point to ask them.
No. This is not how this game.
Yeah, it's now it's your.
That's how this game is.
Now it's wrong to time.
I would say
Any other opinion?
You are hidden.
Yeah.
You are tricking.
Hidden cross.
You are not like a manifestation of it. You know, there's a lot of
Any other opinion?
We are in the same team.
It should be ours.
Yeah, sure. I have
Well, I will say, guys, I'm afraid this girl you guys tried.
Not competitive at all. But you will hear this.
But
not competitive at all. But you will hear this.
Oh, this is
Nice.
Yes, I would, but that's a lot.
Thank you, guys. Thanks very much. Right, thanks very much, everyone. It was really good to talk to everyone, and also it's great to see your presence here tonight. Yeah, and I think we're just gonna look forward for the next Randstad meeting. So yeah, thank you.
So to thank William and Marley for their efforts tonight, we'd like to award them with the magic Randstad UX pen. And to do that, you have all signed these amazing cards, so they go in like that. And Cognizant also has something to give, don't they?
Here's a secret goodie bag.
Oh.
We're not so secret. Yeah. Marley, please come up. Thank you so much for your time and effort.
Yeah, so of course, this is a network event, so nobody really got paid for the effort, so that's why, they deserve the extra.
Thank you, Cognizant, for this beautiful venue and for allowing us to present our things and share. And for William, presenter hug.
I would like to award Cognizant with the Sporting Shoulder badge. I have the since last year May, and we serve the industry and the professionals in various ways, and to do that we also get sponsorship and donations. And the supporting shoulder is the medium category for the amount that Cognizant has spent with us. So I'd like to give you the
On behalf of
award.
Thank you so much. That was our pleasure.
It's a very special award, you know.
No, but as Diane and I put together in our little PR promo video, we really believe in creating this community and sharing what we're learning. Even technology in the industry is constantly changing. So to be better and purposeful is coming together and sharing that knowledge. So thank you for coming tonight. It was a great turnout, great interactions and engagement and conversations. So we hope you enjoyed it and you'll come back and we'll do it again.
Thank you all. There's a little poster created for you. It's got some QR codes. You can find Marley and William on Randstad UX. They have experience portals. There you can watch back the content from tonight, find some photos, and also additional content that they'll be sharing. So presentations, links to books and things like that. On the Design and Focus platform, you can visit the Randstad UX portal, and there you can find the group, and we'll also share all the photos and videos in the group if you want to see yourself. So yeah.